Hi, thanks for stopping by the Old Shed Workshop. Today I want to show you how I made this beautiful draped American flag out of a 2x12. Let's get right to it. Good morning. Welcome back to the Old Shed Workshop. If this is your first time here, I'm Mike. I'll invite you to like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications for future videos. You guys out there who have been liking and subscribing have really been helping me to grow my channel, especially those of you who have subscribed. Today, I'm going to lay out this beautiful draped American flag. This is not my original design. I got the inspiration from Hanley's Homestead channel. Let's lay it out. I'm going to try to keep this 4-foot 2x12 completely in the frame as much as I can. The first three measurements are coming in from one side. This will be the top, coming in from the side at 4 inches, 5 inches, and 6 1/4. The next measurement is to come down from the 4-inch mark. I'll put the edge of the tape right on it and create a straight edge for me. I want to come down to 39 inches. I'll take my straight edge and come from the 4-inch mark to the 39-inch mark, which is at the edge of the board, and mark my line. I also need to find center. I'll show you the way I always find the center of a board, but I wanted to share with you something before I do that. When you're measuring using this type of a ruler, you'll notice that the measure doesn't begin at the end of the ruler. So make sure when you're measuring anything with this type of a ruler to start where the line is. In order to find the center, the way I always do it is I come in from the edge. Since this has a rounded edge, I'm going to put my square up against it and come out to the edge. So I come in, I find a measurement that's easily divisible by 2. And in this case, since it's a 2x12, I'll come out to 13 inches and I make my mark at 6 1/2, easily divisible by 2. I'll come up a little bit, start again, go to 13. Make sure you come to the actual edge of the board, 6 1/2. That's your center. These are not accurate. I'll take my straight edge. I'll come from the center mark. There's the center. Okay. So now we have the center mark. We've got the first mark lined up to the 39-inch mark. These measurements are not mission critical because all these edges will be rounded over in the process. The next mark in is you're going to come in 2 1/2. I've made a mark here, and then I come in from the 5-inch mark down to the 2 1/2, and I struck a line. I had to do it over because I forgot to turn the camera on. From the center mark, I'm going to come down 25 inches. We're going to need this measurement later. So make a mark at 25. The next measurement is going to be coming from the 6 1/4 mark down to the side of your workpiece where you get to 16 inches. Make a mark at 16. From 16, you're going to come down 2 3/4. I like using the machinist scale for the shorter measurements. Let's extend this mark from the 25-inch mark so we can see it better. I'm going to extend these marks with my straight edge from the 6 1/4 mark to the 16-inch mark. Remember, these aren't mission critical. If they're off a little bit, this is all going to get rounded over. So now another straight mark from the 16-inch measurement down 2 3/4. Get that line. The next measurement is going to be coming in from this 2 3/4 mark, which is down from 16. You're going to come from the 2 3/4 mark to where 8 1/4 intersects with this 25-inch measurement. Okay, I've extended the 25-inch line, and right here is where 8 1/4 intersects with the 25. You want to make a mark there. Now you're going to draw a line from where that 2 3/4 mark is, across this 8 1/4, make a line there. Okay, that mark you make when you come in 8 1/4. Now you're going to connect that mark up to center. Okay, that's what we have so far. The next measurement on that 8 1/4, you're going to come in 2 1/4. Right here. And from there, you're going to come down to the edge of the board, 6 1/2. Put you right here. This measurement from the 8 1/4 should give you right around 5 inches. And then you're going to draw a line from this mark with 2 1/4 down. It's right on the edge. And then from the 8 1/4 over. Okay, now we're going to come in 2 inches on this line here. And from here, we're going to come down 13 1/2 to the edge of the board. Bit of a reach, but I'm trying to keep everything in the frame. 13 1/2 is here. It's 13 1/2. So now we're going to make a line from that 2-inch mark right down to the 13 1/2. That's right on the edge of the board. Hopefully you can see that. I'm trying to make the lines dark enough so that you can see them. Now from this mark on the edge of the board, you want to come into where you have 4 inches. So I'm going to use this side of the rule. Come into where I have 4 inches and make a mark right there. Okay. Okay. Now from this 13 1/2 mark to your 39 mark on this side is almost a straight line right across your workpiece. They line up. Again, none of these are mission critical. If they're off by 1/8 of an inch or somewhere close, all these edges are going to be rounded over. The last two measurements are coming in from the 39 mark, 10 1/2. And from this mark, 8 1/4. And that's going to be the bottom of the flag. So we'll just connect these marks this way as this one. Remember, you don't want this dead center. That's not the way the flag is going to hang. That's it. Now that you have the shape of the flag laid out, this is a fold. The second line in. And so is this one. This is a fold. As is this. This is a fold. Okay, this line. Okay, there's your 3 folds. Just to make it easy to see, I'm going to mark off where the pieces are going to be cut off. This piece, down to this 16-inch mark, this is going to be cut off. This piece, remember this is a fold, the second line in is a fold. This is going to be cut off here down to the 39-inch mark. Okay, this piece is going to be cut out just south of the mark that's 2 3/4. Okay, this 2 3/4 mark. This is going to be cut out, and then this piece is going to be cut out. And that will give you the shape of the flag. Of course, this piece and this piece, and this will be the bottom of the flag. Okay, so this is where we're going to cut next. I'm going to have to set this up outside because this is going to make a lot of dust that I don't want inside my shop. All right, so if you can see that, that's where you're going to cut. I was reviewing the video to this point, and I realized that it's a little bit difficult to see all the lines on a workpiece. So what I want to do is go back. I want to darken up the lines and go over the measurements one more time for you. Okay, the first one, this line is the 16-inch line. Okay, I want to darken up these lines for you. So you're coming from the 6 1/4 over to 16. That's that one. From the 4-inch line down to 39. Is that one. Hopefully that's easier to see. This one, we came in 2 1/4. That's the 2 1/4. We connected from the 5-inch line to that mark. We'll just get this lined up. Remember, these are all going to be sanded off. Okay. The center line that we marked, we came down 25 inches. And from the center, we're here. Is 25. From the 16 mark, we came down 2 3/4. 2 3/4, we have a mark here. They're in from the edge of the board just to be able to see them better. So 2 3/4 from the 16 mark, we're on the edge of the board. From there, we came in to this one, 8 1/4. Okay. Here's your 8 1/4 mark. From the 8 1/4 mark, we came in 2 inches to here. Let's mark that. There's your 2. Okay. We came in 2 1/4 from this mark, and then we came down 6 1/2. That's this mark. That's the 6 1/2. From this mark, the intersecting 8 1/4 to the 25, we came in 2 inches, and then we came down 13 1/2. It's right off to the edge of the board. Hopefully this will make it easier to see all the lines. Okay, from this mark, I know I'm running around the whole bench, right? From this mark, we came in 4 inches. Is the 4-inch mark. So we have a line here. Okay, hopefully you can see that better now. From the 13 1/2 mark to the 39 mark, We come all the way across the workpiece. We have this line here. Okay, you can see where it intersects here. Then we came in 10.5, and we found where 10.5 intersects with 8.25. And that'll give you the bottom of the flag. This is a fold, and this is a fold. So the second fold is from this 8.25 at the 25 mark. We draw that up to center. And from there, this is a fold, and this is a fold. Okay? So that's a center mark. All right, hopefully that looks so that you can really see the layout now with the darker lines. Okay? That's a fold. That's a fold. This is just your center line. This is a fold. I'm going to make this fold a 1/4 inch deep as I cut it. This one's going to be 3/8 of an inch deep, and this one's going to be 3/8 of an inch deep. I'll go over that again when I set it up on the sawhorses to cut. I have the workpiece clamped up to a bench outside because of all the sawdust. I'm going to take off all the excess pieces that don't end up being part of the flag. I have my workpiece trimmed to size now. I'm ready to make the relief cuts, which will determine the depth of the fold. This one's 3/8 of an inch. This one's 3/8 of an inch. This one's going to be a 1/4 of an inch. And I'll use the 1/4 of an inch to make these relief cuts as well. That'll determine the depth of the folds. I'm ready to start doing some of the grinding. I'll get my respirator on and my hand protection. I haven't recorded this whole process because there's been so much involved in it. These are some of the tools. This is a grinder. This is my small angle grinder. This is a oscillating tool that I used for sanding some of the tight quarters. You can see that I have the folds all cut in. So the next process will be sanding this out to a finer grit. I used a 40 grit flap disc to do this. In the next process, I'll be going to a 120 grit flap disc. And here's my little guardian. She's here to make sure I don't get kidnapped. Oh, baby. My progress on this video has hit a roadblock due to the fact that 2 days ago we had 12 inches of snow where I am, and that stopped my progress from being able to do all my recording outside and my sanding to try to keep the sawdust to a minimum in my small shop. So I just wanted to get you up to speed on where I am at the moment. I've started to really define the folds. In large part, that's with this tool, the oscillating multi-tool. These little finger pads have made it really nice to get into the folds and help starting to define the edges and get everything cut in nicely and rounded over. It's not done, but just to get you up to speed, that I had to come into the shop because of the snow. I've got the whole flag sanded out to 180, so now I'm ready to torch all the folds. That's it for now, unless I decide to touch up any areas later. Now we move on to laying out the stripes. I wanted to let you know the stain colors that I use. I like the Minwax stains, and I use True Blue and Scarlet as my blue and red. I'm going to add one more process to this flag. I'm going to use a pre-stain. If you're not familiar with a pre-stain, if you put that on before staining, it prevents blotches. It seals the pores in the wood, so you get a nice even color with your stain. So I'm thinking that if I pre-stain the flag, it'll close the pores, hoping to give me less bleed on the edges of the tape. So I'm going to do that now, then I'll get to laying out the stripes. I have all my stripes laid out the way I learned it. Coming in from this side, the long side here, about 1.5 inches is the position for the first stripe. I took a piece of tape and I put it on a paper bag. I didn't have a piece of thin cardboard, so this is what I ended up with. So that's my spacer. It's the width of the tape. When you come around this corner, you don't want these two pieces to line up, because the flag is not going to hang that way where these are going to line up perfectly. So I offset this first one, and then I followed with my spacer coming up the side. At this piece right here, I put a piece about in the middle. These don't line up perfectly because the flag stripes won't line up perfectly. When I got to this one, this piece, same thing, pretty much in the middle with this. Okay, come down around. And then the next stripe here, this is in about 1/2 inch. These don't have to be precise measurements because that's the way the flag is going to hang. Nothing is going to be hanging perfectly in straight lines. In order to have some continuity between this side and this side, you put a straight line from this intersection straight across the flag. I use my spacer as my straight line. That gives you this spot. You lay a piece of tape from that spot above the line on an angle. The angle doesn't have to be specific. It just has to be an angle. The last stripe on this side is made using the spacer here to make this stripe. After doing the red, this stripe will be removed. A piece of tape will be laid here to protect the red, and this will become the bottom of the union. So this tape will be taken off and the union will start here. So after the red dries, okay, after this and this, which are red, after that dries, piece of tape goes here, this comes off, and this line will become the bottom of the union. I got all the red on. Looks good so far. I guess the proof will be when I take the tape off tomorrow. But so far, so good. I let the stain dry overnight. Now it's time to take the tape off. Oh, that looks nice. That looks nice. Most important thing I wanted to see is whether or not it was worth it to use the sanding sealer or the pre-stain. And it seems like it was a good decision because these lines look really crisp. Let's see if it continues that way. I see a little spot here where there's a little intersection with the red. But what I'll do is I'll take a little paintbrush like you'd use for painting a model car or something like that, and I'll just touch that up. Let's see this one. A little bleed on that one. It's in the fold, so that's a little tough, but I'll get it. Yeah, they're coming out nice. I'm seeing a little bit where the tape has pulled up some edges of the wood. Again, with a little model brush, I'll be able to touch that edge and it'll never be seen. This is the last one that comes off on this side. This one's going to stay. It's going to define the union. Oh, it's tough to get. Oh, that looks great. Little things that I can touch up that I absolutely expected. Now remember, taking this piece off, I'm going to put a piece across the top of this red. That came out very good. I'm very happy with that. I've got the tape lined up to define the edge of the union here. A couple of things I wanted to mention. Probably the most important is it looks like all of a sudden everything comes together. But in fact, there's a lot of hand sanding work involved in this. To get in all the folds and get it up to 180 grit takes a long time. You see the magic of video recording and editing. You don't realize how much time is involved in this. So if you do decide to make one of these, bear in mind the amount of time that it's going to take. The next thing I wanted to tell you about is the tape made some really nice lines. I do have some things that I need to fix. I don't know if you can see it that well on the camera, but there's little spots in certain areas where the tape actually pulled up little pieces of the fibers of the wood. This is where I'll go back with the fine brush with the stain and just define that edge. There's no way to avoid that. It just happens when you peel the tape off. But these things are all correctable. If you have the little bleeds, you can take a razor blade like this, just give it a little scratch like sandpaper, and you'll clean that edge right up. There's a lot more time involved in this than what you see just looking at the video. Now I'm ready to go ahead and put the blue on for the union. I like to use a foam brush for stain. I don't like to use a rag because after you get all the stain on, you're going to buff it out with a rag. You're going to make sure you don't leave puddles on your workpiece. Make sure that you're getting down into the fibers Some of these places where you've sanded, you need to really get down into those fibers and make sure you get good coverage. You don't want to leave puddles though. And remember, the heavier you put this stain on, the deeper you're going to have to cut your stars. Nice, even coat is what you're looking for, and then buff it out with a rag. I like to use a piece of towel. I don't like thin cotton material like t-shirt type thin cotton material. I don't think you get the same absorption and the same smoothness as you do with a piece of towel. I've partially laid out the stars in the union. I'm ready to start cutting some of them. Some I'll lay out as I get a little further along in the process. I'm using my old 300 series Dremel with a model 225 flexible shaft, a 106 cutting bit with a fan. I wanted to go over how I determined the orientation I wanted for the stars. I didn't find a video on YouTube that really adequately described the proper orientation. So this is what I came up with. If the flag is flying straight, the bottom of the union is here. This is up. The stars are always pointed up. So if the flag is draped in this direction, you have to follow the union. And to me, this seemed the right orientation. This still being generally upward direction. Now the question is, do you go this way and follow the union, or do you go this way and follow the union? So after giving it some thought, with this being my generally upward direction and the flag is draped in this direction, I decided that if I followed the union here and I came from this orientation to this orientation, my stars would generally be pointing in the same upward direction. Remember, if the union was straight, the flag is draped this way. It seemed to me that this would be a good orientation. And also, when I came down this way, it gave me a good line of stars. And I needed to have a good line of stars coming up here. And then I'd be able to wrap around to the side of the flag. So you have to determine what orientation you think works best for you. From the union this way, do you want to go this way? Now your generally upward direction is going in the opposite way. And I don't think you get the same flow of stars. So in short, if I started with the flag draped in this direction, I continued with the flag draped in that direction. If that makes sense. So now I'm going to continue to cut the stars and get to the stars that come around the corner. I have the flag set up now in my Moxon vise so that I can cut the stars on the edge, and then I'll flip it over and I'll get the stars on the other side. If you're not familiar with a Moxon vise, I'll put a link up above to explain what a Moxon vise is and how and why I built it. Using my marks and vise, I got all the stars cut on the sides of the flag, and I'm ready to start applying finish. Everything's been cleaned thoroughly. And for the finish, I'm going to be using Minwax polyacrylic. I've used this on over 40 flags, and I've had great results with it. Everything I've done on this flag has been water-based, from the pre-stain to the blue to the red. So I'm going to continue with the water-based finish using clear gloss Minwax polyacrylic.